Resuming Nerd World Order broadcast. Dialer phones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gentlemen and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah! What's up? It's your boy Joe, baby.
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium filled pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
It ends now, Apocalypse, and with your death.
Actually, it's not going to end now because this is the start of another episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, and knights. Today, we are going to be discussing Secret Invasion starring Samuel Jackson. Just going to jump right into it. I would say that the nerd community didn't always appreciate this show as much as they should. So it's going to be up to us, the Nerd World Order broadcast, to discuss with all of you the pros, the cons, and the in-between of the Secret Invasion. I'll start it off. I was excited. I was like, I've been talking about Secret Invasion forever. It's one of my favorite arcs in any Marvel comic book series, but this was loosely based on Secret Invasion, the comic book series that I like so much. And then they tried to loosely base it on the newer version of Secret Invasion, starring Maria Hill instead of Samuel Jackson, and they just failed. Started off great. I was excited. Into the show, I was like, really, this is what we're doing with my time? Thank you very much. Alfonso X-Man Flores, throw some positivity in this sandwich.
Nope. So, I mean, intrigue, mystery, spy, all that stuff. It was such a great concept. I was super stoked about it. I was hyped. I wanted to like it. I wanted to just pay so much attention to it. I kept picking up my phone and I'm like, man, I better watch it again. And because I wasn't paying attention, I just kept playing Marvel Snap, and I was like, well, what happened? And rewind a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know. It did start pretty good. The action, there just wasn't enough action. I mean, and I understand. And here's to my point, you guys. Samuel L. Jackson is a old man, right? He wasn't going to be doing all the kung fu. He wasn't going to be doing, it is what it is. He just, they would have to completely put somebody else in there for him to do everything he needed to do. And he wasn't able to do it. So they didn't do it. I don't know if they did that because, he wasn't able to, or I didn't know if they did that just because they were in a rush to get it out. It had so much hope. There was so much they could have done with this. And even if they didn't have Sam Jackson do everything he needed to do, they could have had Maria Hill do it. That scene when in that one Avengers movie where she drops down and she's got the bazooka, she just blows it up. I mean, dang, that was Maria Hill right there. And we got none of that because she just got capped right at the beginning.
It's interesting that you say that, Alfonso, because I look at Samuel Jackson's character. First of all, I'm going to have to agree with you. He was the epitome of old character. It's like the name of the show could have been called Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury is old and out of practice, because the whole show is just about like, I'm old, I've lost my step. Oh, Nick, you're old, you've lost your step. However, I compare Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury to an R&B singer. You ever seen those TikToks or those videos where like Bobby Brown is trying to dance or like Genuine's trying to dance and clearly they've lost a step, but you have background dancers around you that actually can dance, right? So I feel like that's what Nick Fury should have done. Granted, you may be a little bit too old and you can't dance anymore, but to your point, Alfonso, like Gravik could have done a little bit more. Emilia Clarke's character could have done a little bit more. Maria Hill could have done a little bit more. There were a lot of characters that they could have used that were younger and could have done some great stuff, but they didn't use their backup dancers. Joe, what's your thoughts?
I don't think age has anything to do with it. I think
you're not really looking for Nick Fury to do anything dope. He's just the guy behind everything that orchestrates things. He's more of like a planner, setting up stuff. He's not an action kind of guy, dude. I don't even remember him in the comics doing that much, other than orchestrating things. I think what killed it was you kill Maria Hill, no point, you're right, and then you kill Talos. Again, the best part of the series was Talos, and you're gonna kill that guy. I just felt like, to your point, it's like there's no action. I'm like, it's espionage, but there's no action. So it was like every time they killed somebody, it was kind of like, ooh, trying to see so everyone could talk about it. And it was really no big deal. Like after the death, it just didn't hit different, kind of, it's just, there needed more superheroes. I'm sorry, dude. Like I need to watch that and see superheroes. Cause when Secret Invasions and you don't have any power type people, it felt, what it felt like? It felt like Netflix when they were doing, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and dang, what was the last one? I can't think of.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. I felt like they were trying to do their own thing and they didn't have access to any more superheroes. That's what it felt like. And I'm like, bro, how you not have all this money? You spend all this money on it and you could even had Quake from, Shield. You could have had, God, I'm so bad at names. The guy that was in Shield too, the man dude.
Coulson.
You could have had like a Coulson because he was so kind of, and then, they missed the mark on, Ross, like, okay, so he was a Skrull. Like, I feel like they rushed it into a TV series. I think it could have been like a movie, like leading up to the movie. I think it should have been, instead of the Secret Wars and Kang's Dynasty, they should have did a Secret Invasion. And then you could have did more in movies and to set up things. Like you could have seen when did Ross become a Skrull? And even when James Rhodey became a Skrull, like, oh yeah, let's just say he was a Skrull for a while. Okay, well, the whole TV show, like, it'd be better if you would have showed when they became a Skrull. But, even like if you're saying he was a Skrull before, you kind of cheapen Rhodey's whole character with, Iron Man. So what, he's going to wake up and then, now that he's back. Oh, when did Iron Man die? Like, was he, it's just like his character was heading a certain way. And I felt that this show destroyed his character.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. And this is going to sound like the three of us just complaining for the next 45 minutes, but guess what? We are. Because I remember reading the Secret Invasion comic book and it was like reveal. And there's all these like, oh my gosh, Spider-Woman, who obviously not in the MCU, but they could have used a different character. Like there were so many characters that they could have done reveals on, like but they didn't do that. They took the most inconsequential characters and then they're like, we've been building up Steve Rhodes to have a job with the president for the past 3 or like 2 years so that you're supposed to care when he's a Skrull. But I might be going out on a limb here and the limb might just snap under my weight, but nobody really cares much about James Rhodes and War Machine. I mean, he was a good sidekick, but not to the point where I'm like, I knew it all the time. I didn't care. Just go ahead, Joe.
Hey, dude, wasn't Captain Marvel part of that whole thing of them not finding a home? Did she just like not care anymore? You could have brought her back too. It's like, I don't understand. You have money at your disposal. I get it. Maybe you just don't want to waste certain characters' contract for that show. Well, if that's the case, then don't make the damn show.
Yeah. I understand it's supposed to be a setup for Marvels, but at this point, I'm looking at the Marvels trailer and I'm not seeing too much that ties into Secret Invasion. And let me get a little bit more whiny for a second. That's what Marvel's been doing ever since the start of Phase 4. They're like, just hang with us because this is going to tie into something that matters later. And you know what? It doesn't. It never does. Nothing that Marvel has done In phase 4 to phase 5, I'm talking about the movies, I'm talking about the shows, anything. Nothing has tied into anything else. And so it's just another disappointment for me.
I think that they are going to tie in. I mean, because you have all the sidekick characters, all the kid characters that are going to grow up and they're going to be the Young Avengers. And I mean, yeah, it's going to tie in, but it's not going to be all fruitful, Eventually, hopefully, they can do something better with it because they do got to do something to turn the ship around. And when they start to lose somebody like me, that becomes a little bit of an issue. You know what I mean? The other thing is, too, I mean, all the talk on the internet, it's like we speculate, this, that, the other, Rhodey had on the hospital gown that he had on after, he crashed and broke his legs, right? So they're thinking that's when he was switched out. But, we didn't see any War Machine armor. So, I mean, maybe the Skrull didn't have access to War Machine armor. So maybe he didn't have, maybe it didn't happen as soon as we thought. Maybe it happened much later, closer to now. Hopefully, because I mean, if they would have brought out the War Machine armor, you had a Skrull, that wasn't all Super Skrull in War Machine armor, that could have been really good. You know what I mean? There could have been so much they could have done with that alone. And it's like, oh, well, he got beat. Now we got to go to the boss level, so where we got the Super Skrull, and he's got all these different powers. And then speaking of all those powers, it's like, okay, you got this, you got Groot, you got this, you got that, you got the other. And then it's like, we got the Hulk, we got Abomination. And then finally at the end, she's like, well, I got Carol Danvers. I'm like, if you have Carol Danvers, if you have, Captain Marvel's powers, what do you need the other stuff for? You don't need it. You know what I mean? She's stronger than the Hulk. She's, she can fly through ships. There's nothing that they needed other than the Captain Marvel powers. It would have been said and done right from the very beginning.
Yeah, that final fight scene was just egregious. I'm proud of myself for using that word because it perfectly describes how bad that final fight scene was. I mean, like, I couldn't figure, like, did they both get the same powers, or I couldn't figure it out. And then it was like, but then Gravik already had powers. What new powers did he get? How did they get Groot's DNA before? Like, they had other DNA. But it's like, oh, we have Groot's DNA and one of the Extremis DNA. Oh, and why was all the heroes' DNA in some clear liquid? Like, is that how things are done now? Lazy writing? Like, we're just going to take everyone's DNA, and put it in this clear substance. That's a bit of a liability. Dang it.
Also, bro, how are you gonna have all these Skrulls in place getting DNAs and killing people for the sake of the government, and you still couldn't see Hydra? Like, there was no Skrulls in Hydra? Like, I'm like, are we supposed to forget about that whole Hydra thing all of a sudden? See, they dropped the ball on that too. I mean, it's dope to have Hydra, but how sick would that have been for like Captain Hydra? I'm like, I felt like they just missed out on a lot of stuff, man. Like, it's just, I'm glad they stopped, like where Kevin Feige is like, we don't need to put out as much Marvel stuff. I'm glad they kind of did that because I think though it's getting watered down because there's so many different TV series, there's so many different movies, and somewhere along the way they stopped connecting. And it's just like, let's just keep making different shows that don't, there's no continuity with it in the whole thing. And it's like a bunch of Legos that you've lost pieces to that you can't build what you had before. And that's exactly what it is. And you're never going to buy any more Legos to try to make it the way it was before because you can't get those parts anymore. And I feel like that's where Marvel's at right now. I'm kind of glad that they slowed down a bit, like trying to produce all that stuff. I just hope like DC's run is going to be like when WCW had NWO come in and it just made WWF, aka WWE, get better. And I'm hoping this DC run with James Gunn is going to make Kevin Feige become more aggressive and go back to the way Marvel was dope. I'm hoping anyways.
One of the biggest problems that Marvel's doing right now is they're trying to use these storylines, these massive storylines that were awesome, but there's so much that's missing from it. You know what I mean? Like, why are you going to have a Super Scroll if you don't have the Fantastic Four, right? Wait till you have the Fantastic Four, then do the scrolls, right? It's like there's so many other stories out there that they can take from and they can use and not have to worry about this. I mean, there was Atlantis attacks. They can't use Phalanx Covenant. You can't use things that, of course, have the X-Men in them, not yet. But it's like they might as well try, because what they're doing right now, they're trying to do all this stuff that they can't do. Why not focus on your street level characters like Daredevil and all, they're coming. It's like, if they would have focused on that right now, they could have saved Secret Invasion for after this whole Kang Dynasty thing. And it would have been epic. They could have had this as their whole new storyline culminating in one big Avengers movie. You would have had the Fantastic Four there. You would have had the X-Men there. You could have had Jessica Drew. You could have had every single person just like it was. You can't put out such quality product that they had in the books if you don't have access to your toys. You know what I mean? You can't play the game. So,
yeah, I mean, they had Elektra already created. If they bring that girl back, I mean, Elektra was a key opponent of them finding out who the Skrulls were, because when she died, they're like, oh dang, the Skrulls. So and then with the Super Skrull came about when they captured Reed Richards, and you don't even have the Illuminati set up. And so, like, that was the whole thing. Illuminati went to the Skrulls and said, yo, stop what you're doing, or we're going to jack you up. And, that's started the whole thing. But yeah, man, it's so bad, dude. And then after this one, you don't get hyped up for the Marvels. I'm sorry. If this is supposed to lead into the Marvels, it doesn't set up anything, and you're not looking forward to it. It's just meh.
Yeah, it's funny because people are talking that Blue Beetle is going to be another flop, and it's like everyone's overlooking the fact that no one wants to see Marvels. I mean, I'm going to watch it on opening day, but that's more obligatory. Alfonso's left hand also wants to see Marvels, so and his thumbs. So yeah, I mean, other than that, Alfonso's thumbs and his hand want to see Marvels, which that might be a Brie Larson thing. I don't know. But other than that, I feel like Marvel is really just burying its product where you don't want to see the next one, because each product has been worse than the one before. And I feel like, here's what I feel like. Okay. I feel like they look at some titles and they're like, oh, this sounds cool. And they just try to make it very loosely based on the comic book, but it sounds cool. So they put it out there.
Yeah, if they do that, they got to have a checklist, and they got to be like, okay, do we have everything we need to make this lasagna? Do we have the pasta sauce? Do we have the noodles? Do we have the meat? Do we have the Parmesan? You can't make the pasta if you don't have all the ingredients, right? So that's how they got to start looking at things. Or I'm sorry, we'll take it to Flash terms. You can't make the spaghetti.
That's right. Why not talk about a bomb by incorporating a reference to a bomb? That's pretty smooth, Alfonso. That's like double bomb. So, I was wondering, guys, what did you actually like about this show? Okay, I'll start it off because wow, you guys are like nothing. I like Kingsley Ben-Adir, whose name I'm looking at right here on the screen because else I wouldn't know it. As Gravik. I thought that dude was awesome. Like I thought his acting was good, but the villain was very weak, because normally Marvel villains, it's like you can relate to their reason for wanting to be a villain, but I couldn't really relate because I'm like, okay, so Nick Fury lied to them. I don't know if he actually intentionally lied, but it's like, okay, so we're stranded here and it's your fault. It's like, I can't relate to that villain. I get you're pissed off, bro, but I just can't relate. But he was a dope actor. I'll say that much.
Yeah. I mean, he had a lot of really good scenes, man. He had the acting chops. He did a really good job with what he had. And he did slowly but surely fall apart. But that scene when they're in the I don't know what cafeteria, and they're just sitting there talking across from each other, and he stands up, and then like all of a sudden everybody behind him is him. That was pretty epic, man. They had some good shots, they had some good ideas. The scene where Maria Hill got killed, that really wasn't a bad scene. There was all the confusion with the bombs and whatnot, and through the city, and that's kind of how I expected the whole show to be. I expected this show to be James Bond, right? But a 75-year-old Samuel L. Jackson could not pull that off. And it's like, fine. In the comics, in the comics, Nick Fury, he's a badass, dude. He'll take people out left and right. He'll go to toe-to-toe with Wolverine. He don't care. You know what I mean? He always has his backup. If he needs it, he pulls in Shield, and they just come in. You've got all these grunts, and they'll just, light you up. So they should have brought in the Agents of Shield team. That would have been great. That one guy with the, what do you have? A shotgun axe. That was like the best weapon ever. I want a shotgun axe. I'm making one. Yeah, they had so much to work with, and they just dropped the ball, but they had a good formula. Emil Clark, she was pretty interesting. I remember watching an interview show where she was like, one thing about this is when I was Daenerys Targaryen, I had to be standing straight the entire time. So I was always in pain. I didn't get to relax at all. She goes, I made sure this character slouched all the time. And she slouched. So, she did a really good job. I did like the bait and switch at the end. She was pretending to be Nick Fury, and she was like coughing and dying. All of a sudden, nope. So that was a pretty good little twist. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Maybe because I didn't care, but it did get me. Yeah, the accessing the powers. I think with that, I think the problem was, they got all these powers at once. Yeah, he had a few that he was aware of that he already knew. He got all the new powers, but he couldn't think of how to use them fast enough. It's kind of like Green Lantern. Anybody could have that ring, but if you don't have the imagination to wield it properly, you're going to get beat down. Where she knew exactly, because she brought the formula. She knew what she was dealing with. She knew what she could work with. So she was like one step ahead of him the entire time, with the exception of what he already had. So, basically it was just a race to see who could think of, oh yeah, we got Captain Marvel in here too, to see who won that fight. And she lit him up.
I have a problem with that scene because he's such a good actor, and his character and Nick Fury can't even be there. He can't even be there, and he's the whole reason why he's who he is. You know what I mean? And dude, you're like supposed to be one of the best Skrulls, and you didn't think Nick Fury would fool you? Like he's like a spy. That's what they do. And you never once considered that would not be Nick Fury. Like that could be somebody else. Like he's popped up like David Chappelle. I gotcha, bitch. But it's like, I don't know, that scene was just like, it gets emotional, and then they're like, I gotcha. I'm not really Nick Fury. Hey, we can fight now. So I just thought it kind of ruined that scene. I mean, I get it's like a spy thing, but the first 10 minutes was good of a Secret Invasion, man, to be honest. When Ross was in there, and then you're like, is he going to be a Skrull? Is he not going to be a Skrull? And then, you know what I mean? So that was like the first 10 minutes is pretty good. And then you got to see Maria Hill. She was dope. And it's always good to see Talos. I think that guy's a good actor too. But you killed Talos, you killed Maria Hill. Those are the best part of the show. And Old Man River is not going to carry that. I mean, I love you, Samuel Jackson, but dude walks around like me when I run a route. Like my knees, he looks like me after I walk around Comic-Con. I'm like, Dukes, I need to sit down, bro. Like, that's what he looked like, bro. Like, I'm not trying to see that. I wouldn't want to see myself walk around. Like, if you recorded me walking after my knees hurt from walking Comic-Con, I don't want to see that crap. And you want me to see him slow motion walk, like, you know what I mean? And then what? You go to a graveyard, grab an eye patch and a gun, and you're supposed to be like, I'm back? No, it don't work that way, man. For me, don't work that way, dude. I'm like, I didn't get hyped up with that. And then you go to a graveyard and you're like, yeah, I got the secret formula. I'm going to, what?
One other thing that I did like about this, I like the fact that Nick Fury had a wife and that she was a Skrull. I like that little dynamic they had when their little back and forth banter, the conversation. That was pretty good. And then at the end, it's like, would you have loved me if I never changed into this face. And I was like, dang, that's deep. So, you know, they had some good stuff there. Um, yeah, it's just too much. Oh man, I wanted to like this so much. I wanted it to be so good. I wanted it to be the redemption. Oh, and you know, just because it hasn't been said, I am excited for the Marvel still. I think Miss Marvel has so much charisma. I think, you know, and if that Beastie Boy song isn't in it, that's going to ruin it. But just saying, Sabotage, that's the way to go.
Okay, there's so much for me to cover. First of all, I love my wife, but if she asked me, "Hey, if I was green with pointy ears and lines in my chin when you met me, would you still have loved me?" I wouldn't have stopped to talk to you. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be serious, right? Would you have loved me? No, because I wouldn't have talked to you. So that scene was crap. That was garbage because, you know, that would not happen. You know, it's not like Nick Fury would be like, oh yeah, I would look at you and think like, wow, she's got a great personality. No, he would not think that because he wouldn't get past that visage. The reason that visage was chosen was because they had a sense of what he would find attractive. So that's garbage. Second thing is, I feel like the internet gave Old Man Fury way too much leeway. They gave him all these excuses like, oh, he's walking bad now, but that's because he's fooling everybody and he's really not old and decrepit and walking with a limp. But you know what? It turned out that no, he in fact was just old and decrepit and walking with a limp. And everybody was like, oh no, Nick Fury's playing the long game. He's going to start sprinting and he's going to start doing flips and kicks and everything. No. And that was disappointing in itself because when Joe was like, yeah, he got the gun and put on the eye patch, I was expecting him to go into like a kung fu pose and be ready to kick some butt. But that just didn't happen. He was still old man decrepit Fury. So that was garbage. And then I feel like you guys brought up a really good point. You have so many good B-list characters that have very inexpensive powers that they could use on the big screen, right? Like Quake or the entire cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., even though I think they ended up in the future, alternate universe or something like that. Bring them back. Nobody cares. But there's so many B-list characters that they could have used in this show to really enhance it. And they just completely missed that, you know? So many characters without powers. They could have brought back Jessica Jones. They could have brought back Luke Cage. So many things that could have made this show better. Just fight scenes, if you think about it, with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and some Rebel Scrolls could have been amazing. Just so many missed opportunities there. So you guys bring up some good points. Would he have loved her if she was a Skrull? No. Nick Fury was just old from the get-go. So overall, just so many missed opportunities in this show. And honestly, I felt like, yes, another tangent rant. The dialogue, the brother man dialogue. Yeah, I said it at me, bro. I don't care. I felt like there was some strong black man to black man dialogue between James Rhodes and Nick Fury that really didn't make much sense or have the same connotation when you realize you had a woman Skrull talking to a black man about the black struggle. Now, I understand that she took on some of the memories of Steve Rhodes, but if you think back on that dialogue, it was like incredibly disrespectful and condescending when she's coming out with like, you know, this whole black nuance that she has no understanding of. It was putting on blackface to the nth degree. So that bothered me as well.
You know, another point is like, okay, what's his name? Gravik told Furies, make sure you bring your iodine pills. Make sure you bring your iodine pills because there's so much radioactivity. You're going to die if you don't take your iodine pills. Right. So, you know, what's her name's popping the pills like she's dying, you know, limping around, dragging her legs and whatnot. And it makes sense, right? Because radioactive. She did a good part with that, right? But after everything was all said and done, and they went and saved everybody out of the Bacta tanks or whatever they're called nowadays, You know, they pull them out. Well, how quickly would they die if they weren't taking iodine pills? And for that matter, it's like, why weren't they dying in there with all the radioactivity? Right? Sure, maybe it was keeping them safe and whatnot, but as soon as you pull them out, they're going to get radioactive poisoning, right? How long did it take them to pull them out of there, drive them out of there, fly them back, and get them back to somewhere where they can, they can get them under hospital care and get them okay? But, the radioactive poison would have killed everybody. Now, now this also leads me to believe, not believe, but it makes me think, okay, so now you got Rhodey back, and Rhodey is going to have his War Machine armor, which, in my opinion, I guess the Skrull probably couldn't access because he wasn't, he didn't have the same imprint or whatever. He couldn't fool Stark technology, but I guess he did something. Well, anyways, but you've got that, and then you've got Ironheart. So this is going to be your Armor Wars, okay? So I guess that's kind of cool because it does give you a little bit more lead in the Armor Wars if it doesn't get scrapped, but who knows what's going to happen from there.
Dude, it's going to suck because there's no Iron Man. Ain't no one trying to watch Armor Wars with no Iron Man, dude. I'm sorry. And Rhodey's character just sucks now. I'm not a fan of Ironheart either. Sorry, I said it. It's just like there's no Iron Man. You don't need to do an Iron Wars. I think it's just going to be worse than this Secret Invasion.
Missed opportunity to bring back.
What's up, man?
Yes.
Yes. You could have totally bring him back. Hey, man. It would have been dope if he was in that little thing and he popped it open and he goes, hey, man.
How could you not tell us apart? How could you not tell us apart? We should be recording and laughing.
Yeah. Just stuff like that. Like, I feel like this is comparable, like the whole missed opportunity with the actor whose name Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard, who is not related to Bryce Dallas Howard or Ron Howard. I feel like, how in Spider-Man No Way Home, they recreated the meme where they're all pointing at each other. This was a perfect opportunity to acknowledge something that's kind of been a meme forever. People talking about, oh, well, they switched it. So many good things they could have done, but they just didn't want to go for it, or they lacked the creativity. Then again, Terrence Howard, he probably said, nah, man. So,
he could have even, like, if they started the show and he was actually Rhodes, and then when he dies, like, fuck, what's his name, dude?
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, Don Cheadle comes out. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's funny, dude. Hey, man.
He's like, give me that RDJ money.
Yeah.
There's just so much there. People are like, oh, well, when did Rhodes become a Skrull? It doesn't matter, because people are like, oh, well, this ruins this and this ruins this. No, it doesn't. Like, if you're overthinking it, you're like, oh, that death scene with Iron Man or with Tony Stark, and James Rhodes flies in and he's like, oh, my buddy's dying. It doesn't really change anything. Like, I feel like they just took the most B-list of characters, with Ross and with James Rhodes, and they're like, oh, these guys are going to be Skrulls. But it doesn't even play back to, like, where you look back and you're like, oh, this happened, and I understand why that happened. Remember when everybody was saying Sharon Carter was probably a Skrull because her personality completely changed from like how she was to when she finally ended up on Madripoor? Alfonso likes that Madripoor reference. Like, that would make sense if they did reveals like that. But like, these characters, they had an opportunity to go in and say like, oh, when this happened, that's because of this. And they were setting up this, and this could have happened. And they didn't do any of that. And it made the show a complete waste of time.
Also, Agent 13. Like, like her character was different in
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, like you were like, why is she all of a sudden like villainous? That's perfect. She's a Skrull because it infiltrated the government. They got back in. That would make sense if they would have brought her back in there. You wouldn't be able to. She's not going to be asking for a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, that actor could have totally been part of the, part of that whole dude. Oh my God, dude. The more stuff you think about that, it's just terrible. I know we keep talking about how phase 4 is bad. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Marvel started going down the hill when they made Captain America old and they killed Iron Man. Ever since then, bro, it has not been the same, bro. And those, and then the new Avengers, even if you talk about the new Avengers, like I was reading online that they're saying there's going to be Sam Wilson, Shang-Chi, and Shuri. I'm like, dude, people are bagging on us so bad. They did memes for basketball players that are like, like the B team, and they did the comparison of B basketball players and those guys, and it's just like they haven't even like hyped up those characters for you to even like them that much, as far as like they did with Captain America and Iron Man. They were like from the beginning, you were invested in those two characters, and I think I don't know, man, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, well, King's gonna come and take them out, and then you gotta have all the kids come and save them. So that's set in stone, in my opinion. But I just had a thought while you guys were talking about this, because I have this brain that just wanders all over the place. What would have been really good for this show? During the blip, people got blipped away. Scroll's like, they're not here. Oh, here I am. I'm there. They take over their body, right? And then when they get blipped back, then you could have had some scenes where like, oh, Rhodey's is back, take him out, bag him up, take him in the van, things like that. That would have been awesome, it wouldn't have been all of them, but a few of them, that would have been a really good scene to have, a couple scenes or a good intro, better than the stupid AI intro that they did. My artist daughter is all mad about, because you can't be using AI like that, man. You can't do it. We've got real artists out there in the world that need jobs. All right. My kid's one of them. She's growing up.
Dude, to your point, dude, another thing, dude, is like, man, this show's so dumb. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
Wow. Well, let me jump in because I got something to complain about too. The opening was so bad. It's like, this is what you're like, oh, it's AI. Well, that just tells me AI sucks, okay? Because that opening was the worst opening of any Marvel show, Marvel movie, whatever. It was just pure garbage. So I think your daughter has nothing to worry about right now if that's an example of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that was just a test to see what it looked like and how people would react to it. It's garbage, bro. That was his foretelling of the show. Now I remember what I was going to say, dude. This damn show. The blimp. When you came back, bro, are you telling me you're going to come back in disguise? You're going to come back as a scroll, bro. If you blink back, oh, what's that? Like They Live. Remember when the satellite went dead and everyone's looking around? You remember that dude was having sex and the girl was like, what's wrong? And
what's the matter, baby?
Yeah. What's the matter, baby? Yeah, dude. Yes.
Yeah. There was a lot to be frustrated about in this show. I feel like Marvel is gonna have to regroup, or they're just gonna have to abandon ship and just reboot everything. Because they've still got it seems like the Jonathan Major issue is being resolved so they can continue with Kang Dynasty, but they're just on this total downward trajectory that I feel like by the time they reach X-Men, I'm sorry to say this, Alfonso, by the time they reach X-Men, no one's going to care. Between the garbage that DC and Marvel are putting out right now, no one's going to care when the X-Men hits the big screen.
Dude, Loki is coming out, in October? This is going to be what's going to turn everything around. I'm not even saying the Marvels. The Marvels I'm going to love, but I don't know if it's going to... They're too busy being too far out in space. I think Loki is going to be the one that turns it all around, gets everybody back on board. Because, Tom Hiddleston, he's a charming guy.
Look, dude, the only way I'm ever going to be turned around is if they fix things, they bring back Iron Man, they bring back Captain America, and because it's the multiverse, it doesn't even have to be the same people. You can hire a young actor, and you ain't got to pay them crap, dude. They'll just be down to being Iron Man or Captain America. But I feel like the Marvel universe in the movie industry needs an Iron Man and a Captain America. And even in Marvel Comics now, they play a big part. Like with the whole Hellfire Gala, we talked about that whole thing in the comics. You have Captain America, now they're coming out with Uncanny Avengers, and it's a mixture of people that are siding with the mutants because there's a whole thing against the mutants. The stuff they got going on with Iron Man in the comics now, he's broke. I don't know if you know that, dude. He's broke. He spent all his money to pay for all the weapons, the massive destruction, and now he's broke. And the money he had left got set up by a new villain, Fei Long, which killed the partner that owns some of the Stark industry. Now Tony has nothing, and that Fei Long character took his technology and created new Sentinels with Tony Stark armor. So it's like, that's dope. And so now, like, Iron Man is an integral part who's going to marry Emma Frost, to the whole X-Men storyline. Again, you have Iron Man and you have Captain America in pivotal points in the mutants, in the comic book industry now. And you don't have that in the movie industry. And I feel that's where they're lacking.
Yeah. I mean, there has been a lot of rumors that were put out today, or releases from Marvel supposedly, but they are talking that Iron Man's supposed to come back for the King Dynasty or Secret Wars. All the stuff, all the talk about Fantastic Four. I haven't heard anything about Captain America, but there's a lot of talk out there. Of course, Deadpool. I think Deadpool's going to be pretty pivotal as well. Deadpool's going to be used to scrap a lot of crap. Right? Get rid of all the Fox stuff. They can utilize Deadpool to get rid of some of the stuff in the MCU now if they wanted. And they got more time, so you never know what they're going to do.
They have no intention of doing that. They're not that forward thinking. Joe was talking about the comic books, which people haven't been excited about Marvel comic books in a bit. I'm going to say, I might be wrong, but I feel like when Captain Hydra popped up was the last time where people were like, oh, something big's going on. But, this whole Fall of X, and yes, I'm tangenting, but it kind of relates back to the movies where, now Kamala Khan is a mutant and they're making that canon. So it matches up with the movies now. I think the way they did it was horribly lazy writing, like the laziest of lazy writing. But hey, we can't always be great Chris Claremont writers. But yeah, I just feel like right now the comic books are doing a really good job of keeping people interested and getting people back into it. And Marvel MCU needs to draw off of that, like Joe's saying.
Boo on Chris Claremont. He's a punk in real life, bro.
But he was such a pivotal writer for the X-Men for so long, man. It's hard to hold
he's
anything
supposed
against
to be
him.
Kamala Khan is supposed to be a mutant, but they couldn't do it because of the whole Fox thing. So,
Right.
like, for me, lazy writing for that, I'm like, there's no other way how to make her a mutant other than to say what they did in the comics. There's
Right.
really no other way, for her to be a mutant other than to say it wasn't activated when she got the Inhumans gas.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Terrigen Mist.
Yes. I mean, that name sucks too. See, like, that's what Marvel gets for trying to sell their things to get money to stay afloat.
But jumping on what Duke's had to say, this Hellfire Gala, the latest one, is just intense. It brought everybody in, it took everybody out. I think this is going to be a big change for mutants. I think it's going to be like a big thing. And I think the movies are going to be able to start feeding off this because they're going to need ideas, right? Well, no, once they bring the X-Men in, they don't have any plans for X-Men yet. Why not do this? You could throw in all these guest appearances and you kill them all left and right. And then you're back to the 198 mutants or whatever it was that one time. You're going to like, oh, well, Captain America's here. Let's take him over there. We'll kidnap him for a little bit. So the Avengers and Rogue got to go save him. We've got this going on over here. So you got to go take care of that. And they spread everybody thin enough to where, Orcus can come in and do what they need to do. Dude, it's so epic right now in the books. You guys are right about that. And we don't know what's going to happen after all this King Dynasty, all this, Secret War. I think this might be the upcoming project. It might be the initial project for the X-Men universe. I could see it. No. This is why I don't agree with anything you say, because that
that would involve planning, and they haven't planned anything good after Captain America and Iron Man died. They haven't planned anything. So you're telling me that their plan so far with Secret Invasion sucks so bad, but yet they're going to make X-Men better? Like, I'm not confident in that. I'm not confident in Kevin Feige anymore. We used to always say, yeah, Kevin Feige, we trust, before Phase 4. It's like he hasn't showed me. It almost feels like you need somebody else to take over the helm. Like, I think he's just not good at that anymore. And I believe it should have been James Gunn, and we'll see. Because, dude, Disney has not made any profitable movies. The only one that's made any money was James Gunn's last movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, that made actual money. Everything else they did, all these remakes and Disney shows are flopping. Everything else is the TV shows that, Marvel's doing on Disney Plus is flopping. They're losing money on Disney Plus right now. People are leaving because what's the point in getting that? And the shows suck. And then you're like, okay, get it. Do your writer's strike. Get more money. I agree you should get money for the stuff you pay for. But y'all been sucking. And those people that have been writing Phase 4 and all that sucks, y'all don't need to get paid, homie, because you've been writing some hot garbage and we've been paying to watch it. And you need to do better. If you want to get paid originals, which I agree with, but I feel if you're not putting out the right work, then you shouldn't get paid for it as high as you think you should get paid.
I could see Feige passing the torch soon. I could see it being taken away from him. They're going to have to give it to somebody with a new vision. He had his vision, and that time has passed. He did a great job with what he did at the beginning, and he's starting to falter. And just like Taika Waititi, they're going to have to pull it from him. They're going to have to give it to somebody else. I think there's still hope, and everything I was talking about right now is not planned yet, but there will be plans eventually. And when those plans come, that's when they got to give to somebody like maybe Lord and Miller, the guys who are doing Deadpool, maybe somebody like that.
I think the problem with X-Men is they've already used up all the iconic titles. Very similar to what the MCU did, which is they're like, oh, this sounds cool. Age of Apocalypse. Oh, this sounds cool. Days of Future Past. And Days of Future Past was kind of close. Age of Apocalypse was kind of close. But where do you go now? Like all the like Alfonso, let's see here. Even the Phoenix. Like, name an X-Men story that's iconic that they can use. Drop it on us.
Inferno. Bam! Dude, Inferno was so epic. You bring in the mutants, you bring in the demons. You have Angel pinned to a wall. You have Thor come and save him. There's so much. Spider-Man was swinging around saving little people from demonic post office boxes. Inferno could tie in the whole MCU. They could do it right. I mean, that's an easy common enemy. The other thing is too, it's like Marvel's always looking for something they can kill where they're not going to get strapped with a rated R, right? Because you can kill robots, all the Ultrons you want, right? Why not demons? You got all these little demons, take them out. They got to be killed anyways. So that's not going to give them the R rating. Inferno could be so epic. Bring in Madeline Pryor. You bring in Mr. Sinister to clone Jean Grey and be like, all right, here's Madeline Pryor. We're going to have you make a little baby. Here's baby Cable. Ups in the future. Inferno started so much, and I think we can do that.
I got an Inferno question for you. Actually, this is a X-Men movie question. What X-Men movie referenced Mr. Sinister at the end in the end credits? Someone picked up
Deadpool 2.
Okay.
Because they were at the SX, it was the SX. Actually, that place where they had the fire kid, the orphanage, that was a Nathaniel Essex run program. So that mentioned them. And then also, I think at the very end, there was another reveal with Essex, but all that had to do with that.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking like, I think Inferno might just go over the heads of most people in movie theaters. I agree. It was pretty darn good. You know what I was thinking actually when you said that? Remember Mutant Massacre where Storm lost her power? She had that mohawk. All the mutants got killed off.
You know what's funny is I mixed that up because when Sinister came, when the Marauders pinned Worthington to the wall, and then they took his wings, and that was all Mutant Massacre. So yeah, Mutant Massacre, that's definitely a good way to go. And I mean, why not do the Mutant Massacre first? You start there, you start big and kill, bring them on, show them how strong they can be together. You know, families unite. You know, take a page from Fast and the Furious. You know, family, and then after that, then you do Inferno. So those would flow from one to another very easily.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, dude.
Why?
Because they're bringing in the X-Men too late, man. It's like Civil War in the comics. Who was in Civil War? The X-Men, right? Who was in Secret Invasion? The X-Men. You know what I mean? So like to do the Inferno, you have to set up X-Men movies. You have to intertwine those X-Men and the other Avengers movies just for that to even work. And X-Men have to be in a Thor movie. You know what I mean? He says he'll come back for 5 if Tahiki Waikiki doesn't make it funny and he can be serious like how he was before. You have to intertwine each individual X-Men in those other movies. You can't just come out with a few X-Men movies and Avengers and now we're gonna meet each other. Like they have to intertwine. Then you got the Fantastic Four. So it's like, and then you're hearing that the villain's gonna be Galactus. You know, like you kind of tease Galactus, bro, and it's just like, come on, man. Like another Silver Surfer again. Is it gonna be good? And I thought the Fantastic Four with the Silver Surfer was actually pretty good with Larry Fishburne as the voice. I thought it was pretty legit, but it's like you're doing the same stuff over again, bro. Like,
yeah, but Galactus was so bad, and they could do it so much better.
Yeah, but dude, who cares? Who cares? Like nobody cares about Fantastic Four. Let's be real, bro. Nobody does.
Dude, nobody Cousin's going to be Silver Surfer. Cousin Richie from The Bear is going to be the Silver Surfer.
That doesn't mean anything, bro. Like, I'm not hyped up for anything Fantastic Four. Bro, it was so bad. What's his name? Adam Driver?
Yeah.
Dude, the dude said, I can't connect to this character. Are you kidding me, dude? You can't connect with a Marvel character? Like, he just knows it ain't good, bro. Like, and he would have been a good Reed Richards. You know, like... And he would have, bro. Like he's good. He has the look, man, and he's a good actor.
That big head and just,
dude, Reed Richards has a big head, bro. So do you, and so do I. Like,
it's because he's got a big brain.
I don't know, dude. Like even Ultimate Invasion with Reed Richards is dope. Like that version of Reed Richards is dope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I legit have no confidence. You know what it's like? It's like, hey, son, I need you to take out the garbage. Yeah, he'll do it tomorrow. You come in, the garbage still there. Hey, yo, son, then you can take out the garbage. Yeah, I'll take it out. And then you come tomorrow and it's still there. Eventually, you just take out the trash yourself, dude, because you lose confidence that your son's going to take out the garbage because you keep telling him over and over again. He just doesn't see the garbage piling up. And that's Kevin Feige. The garbage that keeps piling up and he has no way to take out the garbage for him. And it's just like, dude, it's just like everyone can't stand that girl, Kathleen, for Star Wars. I feel like that's Kevin Feige now.
Yeah, I could see your point on the Kathleen Kennedy comparison there, Joe. But I feel like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni need to helm both the MCU and also the Star Wars universe.
Well, that'd be a good idea. But you know, like even Dave Filoni, that guy's. And also Jon Favreau. Ooh, I'm getting good with the names. Holla back at your boy. They're so good at what they don't know that they'll go and do research to make the character better. And they listen to the fans. That's the key. I feel Kevin Feige, he just doesn't listen to the fans anymore. Granted, there's some toxic people out there. I mean, we've been bashing Secret War Invasion for like an hour, but the comic book material is there. It's like, hey, you're going to take this test. We're giving you the answers to the test. And you're like, I'm good. No, I'll just figure it out. I'll come up with my new answer. Like, I don't need that. It's yeah, but you know, like the thing about it is they took characters that nobody cared about and they made them good. And I feel like they lost that magic.
I totally agree, but Joe is 120% right. Nobody cares about Fantastic Four. No one has ever cared about Fantastic Four. The only time I picked up a Fantastic Four comic book with like anticipation is when the Fantastic Four was Grey Hulk, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider. And that was one issue. And then the cover was by Art Adams. Nobody, but nobody has ever cared about Fantastic Four. And now they're trying to hype us up like, oh, we're bringing Fantastic Four. Well, guess what? Fantastic Four has failed. The Roger Corman version, the two versions from like the 80s and 90s. The reason that they failed is because you know what? Those powers are boring. Right? Like their powers are boring, and I'd much rather see the Incredibles do it because the Incredibles do it better than the Fantastic Four. So yeah, bro, you're 100% right. The saving grace of the MCU will not be the Fantastic Four, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, Alfonso, but I believe we have to cross that Fantastic Four bridge before we can get to the X-Men, and unfortunately, by that time, everybody's going to check out, my bro. And I'm sorry because I know that's your jam, but
I'm hanging on the hope, man. Hanging on.
You know what I would hope for, like, and I don't think they'll do it, is use X-Men 97 to create the X-Men universe on that TV series, and then it'll correlate to the movies. But they're going to miss the mark on that too, because I think you can cover a lot through cartoons because you can do better fight sequences. It's not going to cost as much, and you can do side stories more to develop the characters and then by the time we get to the movies, you can fixate on the action and start from A going all the way down to Z. And you don't have to do like an origin. People know who they are from the TV series, and I don't think they're going to do that. They're like, oh, let's just continue X-Men 97 of how we would have finished it. And I think they need to attack it of like where they want X-Men to be now and how they're going to be into the movies. And I think they're going to miss that mark.
I agree with Joe. I believe that's what James Gunn is going to do, where he has like the animation, but it ties directly into the DCU, and it's just going to flow really well. So, but to Joe's point, they're going to miss the mark on that as well.
And then not to mention the animation department and the writers are so good. You're telling me James Gunn is not going to be like, okay, I have these characters. I need you to create a story that's going to connect to this. You're telling me they're not going to do a good job? Because the animation in DC is always really done well, especially the writing. And you can cover so much. And he's smart. DC prior to him was always rushing, putting out stuff. And that's why it was terrible. Where he is getting the right people. To your point, he's creating an animation to cover a lot of that stuff that saves time in the movie. It's cheaper, get more out of it, sets up a lot of things faster. And I think, instead of coming out with these live action series, Marvel should have did that in itself, did all that. It's cheaper to pay these actors to come back and do voices than appearances, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Alfonso, I'm going to let you take us home with some much needed positivity because Secret Invasion it's no secret, has thoroughly disappointed us.
Secret Invasion did in fact leave a bad taste in our mouth. We got the Marvels, we've got Loki 2 coming out. Jonathan Majors is an amazing actor. Tom Hiddleston, he's great as Loki. I think that they're going to have something with that. I think that they're going to be able to pull something out. I think that they have lost a lot of people. I don't know if they're going to be able to earn those people back. I don't know if they're going to be able to earn the money that they did or continue to earn the money that they need to. But there are a lot of diehard people who read comics. And, when you read comics, sometimes you have good story arcs. Sometimes you have bad story arcs. You still collect every single issue. So those are the people that I'm holding out for. So I'm pretty sure we're going to, stick with it. I'm sure they're going to be able to deliver something good. I'm sure eventually Kevin Feige is going to have to just bow out because his time is done. His time is done, and there's millions of other people out there who can do a much better job. Get the NWO boys to go down there. We'll tear it up. We'll get it going. We'll do it right.
This concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen of the night of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds redefined. Booyah!